A pandemic of violence floods the streets of major cities as cases of the media-dubbed murder virus, MV20, soar, causing those infected to go on killing sprees. Caught in the middle, police detective Angela Miller finds her only trustworthy ally in the self-proclaimed psychic PI, Gerald Henry. As the two try to navigate the violence, they are drawn into New Age guru Abramelin Harvest's plot to heal the planet. Harvest's missive?
The world is sick, and humanity is the infection.
The cure? Murder. From the twisted mind of Sean C. Baker, author of A Collection of Desires and Shadow Play in Book 1, Kim and Jesse, comes his most vicious novel yet, Murder Virus. Available where books are sold.
Hello, welcome to another episode, a very special episode of the Horror Vision Horror Podcast. I am Sean.
I am Abominable Anthony.
I'm Thaisa, okay, because I can't think of any keyword.
And this is going to be an episode dedicated totally to the show Yellowjackets. Warning, we're recording this on Sunday, the 9th of January. Last night, Episode 9, the penultimate episode of Yellowjackets Season 1 dropped. If you have not watched this show up to that point, and including that point, turn this off now. Do not listen anymore. This is full-on spoilers. We're talking theories. We're talking shit. We're talking, the whole 9 yards. So, whew.
I still need a minute to process the last episode because I
Tori,
just finished it.
so you literally just finished it. So that's good because I watched it last night. So Kirsten and I have been doing a rewatch, and we rewatched it during the week. We got to episode 6 or 7 last night, stopped to watch 9, and then today went back and rewatched 7 and 8. But then stuff started happening. We started getting distracted, and then time, I was fast forwarding to try and get to key things. And so episode 9's rewatch suffered. So I'm going to be leaning on you since you just finished it.
So first of all, I'm just gonna say I had theories like fucking episode 4. I had a theory and I was like pretty sure
It's been since disproved. This episode dropped a lot of bombs, I feel like.
it disproved my theory in the first fucking 5 minutes.
What was your theory that it disproved?
So my theory was Shauna's lover boy was Javi grown up.
It did not disprove that theory in the first 5 minutes.
Oh, you're right.
He could still be Javi.
That's true. Okay. I thought he was the one blackmailing everybody. How about that? And because he was obsessed with Shauna because she was like the first one to ever really try to help them when they're in the wilderness. And I was thinking during the Dooms party that they were going to bang. And because he lost his virginity to her, he's going to get stuck, right? He's going to become her, and he's still going to be obsessed with her as an adult. And then my other theory was Lottie was going to be the one they worshipped. I was like, it's going to be Lottie because they're going to start believing her. They're going to think she's the seer.
Mm-hmm.
And then just out of fright and being young teenagers, they're just going to go with it.
So Anthony, what do you say to either one of those theories?
I actually back up the Lottie thing. She's clearly crazy, but no, I think that she's going to try and push on a little bit of what Laura Lee was pushing onto her. That basically that she's it basically touched. She's touched, not in a retard way, but just that she's got the sight or the vision. But I think that sounds more plausible now. it gets away from grounding the series in reality, which I would like, and not have to deal with any kind of,
Not necessarily.
mysticism.
If not necessarily, because if they think that that's what's going on, it doesn't mean what is actually going on. So it could still be completely reality based and have them think that she's a seer and follow her.
Yeah, I'm with that. Sure. Mass hysteria. Yeah. Group
Yeah.
paranoia. Group hysteria. Yeah. I could totally see that.
Well, that
Definitely.
and then like being a female at that age and like going through puberty still, you're fucking still like, oh, with a trauma on top of that, like just seeing where like their traumas manifested and I love the show so much. I'm sorry.
Yeah, same here. I will say, so they do a really good job of straddling between supernatural and is it supernatural, is it not? I think that there are things that seem supernatural that are not, but I can't totally disprove that there's not something going on that's extraordinary. One of the things about Lottie, okay, I think Lottie is the girl at the very beginning of the series that is running through the woods and falls in the pit with the spikes.
Ooh.
I thought for sure it was Jackie. In hindsight, we just rewatched that first episode last week, and it is not Jackie. Now, here's another thing that I have to keep reminding myself, because Kirsten's like, wait, pause it. Look at her calves. They don't look anything like Jackie's scrawny ass calves. But here's the thing, like, it's not actually the actress, right? It's a body double or it's a stunt person or whatever. So you have to take that into consideration. The same way, there's a practicality about the way they film it, I'll get into later, that has its ups and downs with me. But there are, I think that's Lottie. And I think that whole beginning narrative with her falling and then them raising the body and bleeding it and then eating the meat, I don't think we're seeing one process. I definitely think, like both of you just said, Lottie is going to like ascend to I think we're going to get into clan territory where there's going to be a schism. You already see that Vanessa clearly, and other, like, no, she predicted it. Look, rivers of blood and red smoke, and she predicted the Mr. Perkins scandal, and she predicted the whatever. So they're buying into it big time. Other people aren't or might not. But I think maybe what we're seeing is that you're going to get a group splinters with her, a group doesn't, and then probably the group that splinters with her looks like it might lend itself more to the cannibalism, and maybe there would be some kind of a war, and then at the end of that, the people that she had warred upon will turn the tables, and then she will be the one running for her life, and she will be the one falling into the pit. Just an idea.
Oh yeah, or I was thinking too, like a coup, Lottie is the head and
Yeah,
she's getting too fucking weird with it. So like a splinter group, like Natalie. I think Natalie, just her personality and the way she is, she's not gonna fall for that because she like saved Travis too. I think she really saw how things are.
yeah.
So I don't know, maybe even like her killing Lottie later on to keep the power in check.
There is a scene when they are waiting, when it's Shauna and Ty are waiting for the money drop to be picked up, and they're in the car and they're like, where the fuck is Nat? Oh, maybe she stopped to buy drugs. And then they get into like Ty paying for rehab or whatever, and Shauna's like, why do you do that? You just enable her. She's like, hey, who does she have? We have families. If it wasn't for Nat, we wouldn't be here. So what you just said, she's responsible in a big way for either them surviving whatever happens or getting rescued, or both. I don't know.
Definitely.
Anthony, thoughts?
I don't completely like the show.
Okay.
And it's got some stuff I'm not really into. The big one, obviously, for me, and I get they're trying to be as realistic and true to what a lot of like teenagers are doing at their age, But like, I don't like the over sexualization of it. I think it's a lot. Like, I don't want to watch a bunch of teenagers hump. I think it's gross because they're kids, and I'm an almost 40-year-old man, and I don't want to see that shit. Like, it's just gross. So the fact that it even flew like onto, and obviously that's why it's not on network television, it had to be on some sort of cable network. But I mean, I just think that's a bit much. We talked a little bit about the supernatural aspect of it. I would really like to see it grounded somewhere. Pick a story, pick, or not a story, but pick your path. You know what I mean? Are we going to go down a supernatural route, or are we going to stay grounded in reality? Personally, I would like to ground it in reality. I don't like I'll be honest, like the present tense characters, I don't care about them, other than like Shauna's character, who is actually really fucking cool. I like her a lot. And obviously Misty as an adult is just fucking bonkers. Love her.
Yeah.
She's totally fucking insane. Obviously as a youth and as an adult, but everybody else's like problems, I don't care. I don't know. I've said it before where I kind of wish this was more like a Lord of the Flies and just stayed in this one realm. But I mean, that sucks because that's at the, the cost of Shauna's story as an adult. And I do want to see that, obviously, but there's just so much like drama happening. And I get, they went through trauma, but I don't care. I find the youth story a little bit more intriguing, purely because it's a survival thing that is cool when it's depicted on film. I just wanted to see more of that, stick to that story. And it sucks when it's like, now we're gonna bounce to Natalie's adult story. I just don't give a fuck if she has a drug addiction or not. I that's like kind of like it's expected because, again, trauma. I just don't care. And granted, she might do something amazing when she's young, and that probably leads to some horrible event that obviously puts her down the path to drug addiction, to self-medicate and cope. But again, for the most part, like the whole cat and mouse thing where they were doing the whole money thing and all that shit, it just seems like fluff, and it wasn't necessary. So in my opinion, the show's fucking cool. It really is. And the practical effects are fucking gnarly.
Yeah.
The gross shit that happens. Sean, you mentioned earlier during the week when we were talking while I was catching up on the show, Laura Lee. And you're like, look, there's a thing with a head injury early on, and you're gonna that shit was fucked, man.
That was the hardest thing for me to watch in the whole show. I literally almost vomited.
Yeah.
Where she dove into the shallow end and fucking hit her head at the beginning of episode 8. I seriously thought I was going to puke when I saw it. It was so hard to see.
But there's some. Oh, go ahead.
Poor Van. Van is just getting the shit end of the stick.
Yeah.
And it's always that side of the face.
Yeah. I mean, that scene itself is fucking brutal. And Sean, I'd loaned you The Gray earlier in the year. And
yeah.
It reminded me of that, but it went that extra mile about showing you like the shit that actually happens with the wolves. And it's fucking gnarly. So again, there's so much cool shit happening while they're young and they're stuck in the fucking wilderness. I just want to see, I was hoping that the story would, gear more toward that. And it's just always a big letdown when it's like, and now this is what's happening with whoever and cares. I don't care what Taisha's doing in the future. I don't give a shit that she's a politician. None of it matters.
Yeah, but okay. Her as an adult, when you see her in that tree, that shit fucked me up.
Well, and so they're in like, I love the way they do this, where back to the supernatural thing, you get this, there's a very ominous tone in some of the earlier episodes with Sammy, her son. And he's like, the bad one told me to do it or whatever. And the lady in the tree, and there's the scene where she pulls aside his drapes and he's got all those pictures up. And like some of those pictures, I still don't like, wow, they're fucked up. But so now you're thinking like, oh my God, this is like something supernatural or whatever. And it's like, no, it's her in the fugue state. And then she says later on, my son thinks there's two of me and that, I'm the good one and there's a bad one. That to me, so Anthony, I am with you. Like the story, the visceral story in the wilderness, and I want to know, how do we get to where we see in that opening of the season, right? Like, how do we get there where they're all in, because okay, the first time I watched the first episode, whenever it first dropped, just on like a whim, I was thinking we're going towards something like one of these like that new Wrong Turn, where it was like the girls were like picked up and abducted by like these hills people or whatever. It's like the end of the episode. You're like, no. That said, there's a cabin in the fucking woods with a plane by it and a corpse in the upstairs. So who the fuck lived there? Was the sun just glinting off the window when they saw it the first time, or was that? I initially thought that was somebody signaling it.
That's
It must have just been,
That's
yeah,
what
it
I
must have
thought.
been the sun glinting off the window, right? But
Yeah.
I mean, we're still not really sure because we have not addressed that corpse. And the other thing, the one thing that I feel like is like, okay, if there's anything that is keeping the supernatural thing alive with me as a possibility, Lottie fucking straight up started speaking in French.
Yeah.
That, and they're like, she's in French, she sucks at French, she failed or whatever. Like, she was straight up talking in French. So there could obviously be an explanation for that. Maybe she wasn't saying a lot, right? She kept saying like, it wants blood or something like that. That could have been written somewhere in the fucking cabin for all we know. And she was able to piece it together with her, little bit of French knowledge. Who knows? But that is the one scene where I'm like, okay, this is weird.
We're not going to talk about the symbol.
So let me just throw this out there. And then, okay, at the beginning of this most recent episode, Shauna stabs Adam, right? Whether or not he's Javi, she kills him. When that scene happens, it keeps cutting as he's talking to her and she's holding the knife. It's cutting and showing you flashes of her cutting the deer's throat in the woods, skinning the rabbit, blah, blah, blah. She stabs him. It flashes. I love it. It was so well done, where then it's literally that actress is standing there with the knife in her hand. I thought that was super fucking cool. She removes the knife. The last image they flash is that symbol. I present to you guys the theory. I don't think there's anything supernatural necessarily. I think there's post-hypnotic suggestions that were used on them at some point, and that symbol triggers shit. So this is classic, spy or I mean, we're not in a spy movie, but like psychological thriller, anything that uses post-hypnotic suggestion, right? Somebody calls the guy and they say like, your kids are Charlie. And then all of a sudden, when he was told, years before in a hypnotic state, if you hear that, then you go kill the president, whatever the case may be, right?
Korean candidate.
Hail Hydra.
Hell, yeah, exactly. Boom, there you go. So these postcards show up, and Ty goes back into dirt eating and tree hanging. I mean, Nat leaves the fucking rehab, gets her Porsche, which she bought with a lot of money when she was a very different person, to quote her. Who knows what, where that.
Yeah, where's her money from? Okay, sorry.
Right, yeah, exactly. Well, we don't know yet, which is one of the things. And so this is like the shit about the present tense that really drills me down, is like, I want to know what the fuck is going on. I mean, I could see like all the incidental drama with like the who's fucking who and the drug addiction or whatever. Although I will say, Misty cares, and that was the best intervention I've ever seen. There's never been a better intervention. That was just the fucking greatest. My nose burns. Is that normal?
Yeah. Sean, I just want to tell you that if that ever happens to you and you feel like you're, in a vulnerable state, I will totally run into your room and do all your blowing from you, just because
No,
I
you
care.
won't.
I care,
Same.
That is like, oh my God, that was
Anthony, best sponsor.
man, that. But so anyway, so I think there's and also that goes to those journals. I think they were in the safe the whole fucking time.
Yeah.
So post-hypnotic it's a trigger. That's just my theory. Anyway.
Still, okay, after episode 9 right now, okay, we find out the husband was blackmailing her. Still, who the fuck killed Travis?
unrelated. So it's two separate things, and he just
Exactly.
had the bad luck of concocting his blackmail scheme when this other shit starts, right?
Who the fuck killed Travis?
He also hung himself from the forks of a forklift. So I'm like, well, I mean, you'd have to. I mean, nobody climbs up greasy forklift mast to then jump off with a chain. Like,
Yeah.
And there's the symbol somebody put below him.
So here's the other thing. Okay. I think Misty is involved with whoever killed him, because how do they find the symbol in those pictures? She lays them out and then draws it. Nobody, she does it in such a like embellished presentatory way, like, oh, look what I found. You would have to know that that shit was there to do that in the first place. That wasn't just like she stumbled across it. So I think she very much knew what that looked like, and that she was able, because I mean, like, if you look at the way she draws that, it's like those pictures don't perfectly match up. So I don't know.
Think about it too.
But
Misty is the reason why they're there. They fucking didn't survive or get out.
yep.
And
I
she's
think
not-
that also ties into your theory about the post-hypnotic, where if anybody has their hand in any wacky shit like that, it's probably Misty. So
Yeah, definitely. But who else? So here's another thing. The first episode, right? The very first episode, near the end, Shauna and Ty meet for coffee. And Shauna's like, I thought we agreed. Never speak about it. Low profile. I see you on TV running for state senator. Take care of it, Ty, right? So then they're like, okay, Nat just got out of, or what about Nat? Ty's like, she just got out of rehab, blah, blah, blah. No sign of the others? Question mark. So who? I mean, you could say, is she talking about Travis and Misty? That ain't who she's talking about. There's other people still alive for fucking certain.
Well, there's 3 slots. From what we know from watching everything, we know 3 people are still, yeah, because 8 people survived.
Wait, how do we know 8 people survived?
Oh, that's if you count the, no, never mind.
If you, so we can't take into consideration anything they show us. And I'll tell you
Yeah.
another thing. One of the things that is driving me nuts about it, and I understand when you shoot a scene, you only have so many positions to block people in it or whatever. And, you know, you're not going to maybe bring in all your extras for every scene. It's also, if you notice, Kirsten pointed this out, Christina Ricci was pregnant. She just gave birth last month.
Mhm.
And there are scenes where her character is clearly pregnant, and other scenes where she's clearly not, and they're disguising it. So I don't know what the shooting for this was. So I don't know how much they had access, but I swear to fucking God, in like the second episode, when they all finally go to the lake, we counted, there's 21 people that travel to the lake. There is no other point that we see 21 people. So I start thinking, like, maybe we're seeing like spirit. I was thinking of like, you know, Hill House and Bly Manor, where there's dead people in front of you all the time and you just don't notice it. So I'm like, maybe these other people are spirits. But in episode 9, there's a couple shots where you clearly see up to 18 people. But there's people that come and go that, like, you know, when Laura Leigh launches the plane, there's 10 people there. That's it. Would anybody miss that? No. Where are they? I don't know. With the exception of Van, who was injured and was back at the cabin, and maybe 1 or 2 people to stay with her, that still leaves a huge discrepancy. So the visual info, my point is, whatever they show you isn't necessarily something you can rely on as far as like,
Yeah.
for like, so we don't know how many people survived, which is interesting.
And why did Jackie not eat the last episode? Why is she not eating?
That's a good question. I mean, that could have just been happenstance.
Yeah. Or she's maybe, I don't know. And then what about the baby?
That baby is probably going to get eaten.
yeah, it's going to become a baby burger.
Okay.
I mean, dude, how about the eraser head dream sequence? Like gives birth to the chicken. That's like,
That was
oh
good.
my God.
That was
It
good.
was really good.
My favorite was tonight was, there's no book club.
Oh, dude. It's hysterical. What? There's no book club?
There's the sincerity and like the pain in his voice. There's no book club.
I think that's the most heartbreaking part is she finds out that her husband really was with her and had her back the whole fucking time. And that's really sad.
Yeah, it is. I like her because I really like Melanie Linsky, and she's just been in all these things we watch. It's like in rapid succession. Like here she is again. Cool. But her character is really fucked up. I like the scene where she's like, when did we become these people that lie and cheat and he's like, Shauna, like this has always been us, because it has, right? I mean,
she was really underutilized in Don't Look Up, that recent one where she was opposite DiCaprio, and I don't know.
She's in that. I didn't know that.
Yeah, she's on great. Netflix. Yeah, but I mean, I remember seeing her for the first time I remember her was Detroit Rock City.
I never saw that.
Oh, Heavenly Creatures for me.
I never saw that either. And by the way, it's not streaming anywhere. And the DVD goes for like, I don't know, it might even been over $100. So I mean, somebody's gonna put it out at some point. You know, it's one of those. But God, it joins in. It's Peter Jackson. It's like his movies just get like they just go out of print and never come back. It's so strange.
Oh man, I have so many. But Yellowjackets has been up there for probably one of my favorites of things of 2021 come out.
Yeah, it was high on my list. Definitely.
It's definitely been better than like the return of Dexter, which has been decent. Okay. Yeah, which has been decent, but I think this has a little. It's not storytelling that's expected. You know what I mean? I watched Dexter. Mm-hmm. This is going to happen next, and now this is going to happen next, because I've seen it 1,000 fucking times. At least this has, you know, as much as I don't like all the meandering, at least it does that. You know what I mean? To keep you on your toes.
I mean, it does really keep you on your toes. There's no way to know how to navigate what the fuck is coming next, which I greatly appreciate.
Agreed.
So good.
You guys have theories about anything at all?
Just again, I think Lottie is going to be the one worshipped. I think she was the one with the white stag hat in the very first episode that was like giving direction. I really think she's going to take like a Jesus-like figure.
Yeah, I think you're right. And I think there'll be those that don't buy into it and they stay separate.
And it's going to take almost that religious aspect because of Laura Lee's influence. I think Lottie is going to misinterpret that and just really like, well, you like in the last episode, she goes kind of fucking ape shit out of nowhere. And during the drug orgy.
that moment where I thought they did it really well, because it feels supernatural, but it definitely doesn't commit to being that. But where everybody's like, something, you feel something, it's like an energy, something's coming. And then they go to Lottie and she goes over by, they had Hobby beating on like a panel from the plane, you know, as like they were starting the ceremony or whatever. And she kneels down in front of it, and then the camera goes to face her. So it's like a close up, and she says, no, something's coming. We won't be hungry much longer. And then we go right into this thing where like they all acted completely possessed, right? I mean, to the point where like, I'm wondering, what are we seeing here? Like, this is beyond just, you know, like, or it seems to be mass hysteria fueled by fucking, you know, who knows, like the mushroom thing. I mean, it's almost like it reminds me a lot of Paul Thomas Anderson's Phantom Thread, where it's like there's the whole thing where like the wife poisons the husband and it's like kind of their thing and he almost dies. But I mean, anytime you take mushrooms or hallucinogens or what, I mean, really anything that intoxicates you, it's like poison to some degree, right? But this was like, they were clearly like really off their fucking nut.
I had a question, and this is no attack on any of your guys' character. Have any of you guys done shrooms before?
Oh yeah, multiple
times. I
have
not.
Yeah.
So my question was, how accurate was like the trails and I guess visuals and stuff that they did? Because I mean, they got to draw that from somewhere. So I wanted to know how accurate that was.
Pretty good.
Pretty good.
Because I like the scene where one of the girls is like clawing at the dirt, and you could kind of see like light coming out from the door. I was like, that's
Yeah.
fucking awesome visual that obviously some dope fiend had to do. And I love you, dope fiends, so don't worry about it. You know, that's not a big deal. But yeah, no, I actually had a question about
yeah, you see that trail a lot, Anthony, and with me, you'd see a lot of things like breathing, like
Yeah.
lots of breathing.
You see Javi like staring up at the trees, and it looks like I don't know, like almost like undulating. And I was like, that's just fucking really interesting. I might do dope now, you know. That's
I don't think you can. I don't think of mushrooms as dope. I mean, I guess. No, I know.
It's the Reagan is what it is.
I will say that. I mean, for the listeners, Anthony is doing. We're on Zoom, and behind him is his giant, as it always is, that giant picture of Reagan being sworn in.
That's right.
Like, you know, the framed poster.
Yeah, it's the first thing I want to see when I wake up.
Oh man. Yeah, it also, I don't want to go off on too much of a mushroom diatribe, but mushrooms are really interesting in that, like, I did LSD a handful of times when I was in high school, never done it since. Mushrooms I've done much more recently, and I had a period, I did mushrooms in Vegas once, and I wandered around like the Luxor and just blazing, listening to Steely Dan and on my headphones. It was amazing. But I walked away from it. You get these weird like revelations as if your environment is speaking to you. And I remember like coming away like feverishly writing later in the night, like this whole town is a vampire. Like I remember looking at this woman that was like clearly 90 and had been sitting at this one-armed bandit for like probably the last 30 years, and she just looked, you know, just drained. But so it gives you these revelations that then when you sober up, you can read and be like, well, that's not wrong. It's just, you know, it's like you're seeing it through this weird skin because it's being embellished by the drug or whatever. And I think that ties directly into whatever is happening to them. But I mean, that goes a little bit more like, what the fuck? But so then, like, man, I don't know.
Doing psychedelics, Anthony, after doing them, you understand like how H.P. Lovecraft came up with these monsters. Put it that way, like, because you just.
Well, the weird thing is the Lovecraft didn't do psychedelics, right?
No, yeah, but like that's the best like comparison I think.
No, it's yeah.
Do it like.
Well, there's theories that the mushrooms are actually, I mean, God, it's been a while since I read about this, but there are theories that those mushrooms are from spores that were actually originally introduced to this planet from meteors, and so that they are this actual cosmic intelligence. You know, the idea that like, well, just because a tree can't talk doesn't mean that it isn't intelligent, right? Okay, you know, I mean, I'm not a hippie. I'm, you know, whatever. I mean, I care about the planet, but I'm not, you know, I'm drinking out of a glass bottle, so there you go. But and that lends into the show too, to bring it back around before I go too far out. You know, this idea like the woods wouldn't let them leave. That's really interesting. And what the dude? Okay, so the guy sitting in the chair that's dead in the attic, right? Like, there's a shotgun there. He blew his brains out, I'm pretty sure. So like, what is? I mean, he may have just been stranded there and like realized nobody was coming, but like, I don't know. There's so many fucking questions. And
yeah, well,
that's the thing about the current timeline for me, is that to me it enhances the previous, you know, what happened in 96, because they're gone 19 months. We only know a little bit of what happens, and it's not much, and we can't really trust what we see is in any particular order, or, you know, so we just have these singular images. But clearly a bunch of shit happened, and now to some degree it's coming back up. So what, like, how does it tie into the now with these people? And I think that, I really think there's some kind of post-hypnotics. I think that symbol, I don't know if it was like, but it's there when they get there too. That's the other thing, is like,
hypnotized.
They didn't invent that symbol. It's in the trees. It's in the I think it's carved into the wood at some place in the cabin, right?
And there's always the no-eyed man too.
Which goes back to her grandmother. So, well, technically not. We don't know that when Ty is seeing that in that, the young Ty and her grandmother, we don't know if she's seeing the same thing her grandmother's seeing. There's one scene we have not witnessed yet that's in the opening credits with the no-eyed man where he's in the woods. We haven't seen that, so it's gonna have to be in the next episode.
Let's play with your supernatural thing, and I'm going to give maybe. So let's say it is a supernatural force. We all made wacky predictions earlier. I'm going to make mine. Say there's a ominous presence in the woods, and whomever survived had to do a blood sacrifice by to appease whatever presence was out there, and they were awarded the I guess the gift of being able to escape, if it did play off the whole supernatural thing, because obviously there's the cabin in the woods, and that's Evil Dead. You have the tendrils wrapped around the plane, also Evil Dead. Also, another weird thing, how the hell did these 8 broads dig a whole fucking airfield in an afternoon? That doesn't make any goddamn sense to me. But kudos.
And
It was a montage. I think it probably took place. I thought of that as well. I'm like, wait a minute. Anyway, continue.
No, that's it. I don't have questions about the show.
Just clearing that motherfucker out too. So
yeah.
You know what I thought was hysterical? Adam's like, look, I got this friend with a cabin in the woods in the Poconos. Let's go. And I'm like, motherfucker, you've just read up on her and you're going to invite her into a fucking cabin in the woods? Seriously? Talk about some insensitive boyfriend shit right there.
Way to not Adam.
Yeah, Jesus. But okay, so to go back to Adam, he could still be Javi. And the obvious problem, we've been going back and forth. Honestly, I didn't expect some of this shit to be solved on this episode. So, to the listeners, when the three of us were talking about doing this, I had notes pertaining to why I thought the husband was still the blackmailer and not Adam. And I had notes about Adam being Javi. And, you could throw one of the, although there's still, they could still have been in league together. Who knows, but probably not. If he's Javi, the obvious problem is how the fuck would Shauna not recognize him, right? Well, if she thought he was dead, but he wasn't. So that's the other thing. Did they have to leave people behind who they assumed were dead? I have a theory that Jackie isn't dead.
I'm kind of starting to think that.
I'm probably wrong, but okay, so talk about it.
I don't know, just the more, especially the last 2 episodes, the way her personality is coming about. And especially tonight, excuse me, with her little it doesn't matter anymore. We're just hollow shells. I think they're going to keep her around. I think she is going to survive just because she has that shitty attitude.
Yeah.
I think if they would have kept her character kind of weak, how she was, and not pulling her weight, then I think she would have been killed off. But yeah, I don't know. I think
it makes her a likely candidate, because you go back to Shauna in her bedroom talking, kind of apologizing to for what happened to her. So unless she offed her, that's the only thing, is that there's an assumption that she's dead when she probably might not be. We got all that shit to play with still.
She seems like such the likely candidate for everybody to think that she was the girl running that falls into the pit and that she's not going to make it, which makes me think that maybe she did. Now, there's a thing. I don't generally, as a rule, even for this kind of stuff, I don't necessarily I know there's a podcast, but I didn't think to look for it until last week. So I just, maybe I'll listen to it, maybe I won't. Those are a mixed bag. I remember there was one for True Detective that was really great. And then there were a bunch that were awful. And it's like when I get into these puzzle box shows, if I look for a podcast, sometimes I don't find anything that I'm okay, whatever. And I'm not a Reddit person really. But I was looking for something specific, and I happened upon an article that referenced to Reddit or whatever, and I did not catch this. So we're in 1996, and in episode 9, they're like, "Oh, Homecoming's about to happen." Homecoming's always in October, right?
Fall, yeah, fall.
So they pointed this out. I think it was on Vulture or one of these sites. where, and I freeze frame this shit too, when Shauna is in Jackie's room at that unbelievably terrible brunch, she's looking through her diary, right? And it's like my favorite bands right there. I looked at those bands or my favorite songs where I was like, I'm glad you're dead. Oh, fuck you and your bad taste. Good Lord. One of them was favorite movies. I didn't catch this. I wouldn't have. I'm not familiar with the movie. It looked like a bunch of 90s fare, but The English Patient, which apparently didn't come out until November 1996. Now, that could be, it depends on how in-depth the creator, that could easily just have been something that was missed that like, oh, it came out a month after we fucked up, or it's on purpose. So there's some theory that she's a time traveler. That theory is ridiculous. However, maybe Jackie did make it back and she died later. Her parents speak of her as if she's dead, but nobody ever says that she died in the fucking wilderness.
Maybe she killed herself after she couldn't deal with it.
So I'm wondering if she got back and that diary was something that she started, or continued after they got back. She continued to, try and reassimilate into normal life, started, writing in her diary again. That's why that movie's there. And then eventually she killed herself, or, who knows? There's any number of things that could, but I don't think she died in the wilderness. I think she made it out.
Do you guys get the impression that Shauna enjoyed being in the wilderness? Because I kind of do.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Okay.
There's something, her, especially in the drug orgy, like, she was one of the ones where, like, I'm like, whoa, this doesn't even seem like her.
Yeah.
Yeah, because there she doesn't have to play second fiddle to Jackie,
Ooh, yeah, good one. That's true. I feel like with some of the, like, especially like the survivors that we know, they kind of thrived in the wilderness. Like, look at Nat.
Yeah.
She's kind of a badass. She's the fucking hunter. Okay, well, Ty went feral, but
she's still like really like rises. Dude, she kills a fucking wolf.
when she tells that rich lady to fuck off at the fundraiser.
Oh yeah, that was good.
Yeah.
That was good. And so then there's like she has that vision of the wolf or whatever, which I don't know if that's just another manifestation from the possible, I'm sticking with this post-hypnotic suggestion thing, the trigger, or what, but that's interesting too, that she keeps seeing that. And is that just like the feral nature in her being manifested visually? I don't know, but she definitely, she was a badass to begin with. Let's face it.
Yeah.
We all know. Oh, you know what? Another interesting thing, and I think we're going to see her again for sure. So, you get, when the show starts, the first episode, you get the whole cannibal montage, which I still say is what they're showing us is not in sequence. Then it goes to first person perspective of, it's actually Jessica Roberts interviewing people. You don't know that yet. So you get like the principal and like a math teacher and like an old woman. Like, I can tell you, none of those girls gave a damn about trigonometry. And you get one of them that says, that could have been me.
Yeah.
It's Allie. It's the one they broke her foot. Yeah, right. So, Ty did that shit on purpose, not knowing it was going to probably go that fucking bad, right? That was really fucking great. I feel like that was the first moment where I was like, this show is pulling no fucking punches, because that bitch's bone is sticking out of her. Oh. But I think she may come into it again at some point, just because, I don't know, maybe not. I don't know.
Yeah, I had a thing. Well, I kind of saw the trend the first couple episodes, and then I think it kind of died off. But it seemed like the main survivors all had, like, it sounds stupid, a spirit animal. Shauna's the rabbit. Wolf. What's Natalie? Natalie's the stag.
Oh, that's interesting.
Or she's the deer. Travis is the stag. And fuck, I forgot what Misty is. Because I don't know, it seemed up like that kind of animal popped up for them a lot. Whether it was bad.
That's really interesting.
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe I'm just looking for shit or getting really high before watching it, but
well, here's the other thing. Like Kirsten's been saying, like, there's a photo in Shauna and Jeff's room where a lot of this last episode took place, where they had their conversation. it's like a painting or a photo and it's mountains. And she's like, it looks like the Wish You Were Here part of that postcard, right? But I'm like, but here's the other thing, like these shows also do things like that where people can find meaning in it. It's not there. I was thinking, what if Vanessa's the one that's Van is still alive because, and she's pulling strings and working with Misty because when Misty abducts Jessica Roberts, she's listening to Phantom of the Opera, and then she's still listening to it in her house when she's like, you know, got her tied up or whatever. And Van looks like the fucking Phantom of the Opera at the fucking homecoming, right? She's got the mask that covers half her face, and also they did a really good job with just needle and thread to sew her, because like when they remove the mask, like she's got two pretty gnarly scars, but like I was looking at your molars the last time you know, so a pretty good job. But you know, so is that, you know, this ominous foreshadowing that, you know, Phantom of the Opera? That's probably not. I mean, but they may have not even intended that.
It could Phantom. It was some mysterious person pulling strings behind for unrequited love. Van loves Ty loves Van.
Oh, see, and this is like, I always think of the movie Pi, you know, the Darren Aronofsky, where it's like, Eddie, if you look for a number anywhere, you will see it. The steps down your driveway, the blah, blah, blah. Like if you're looking for something, you'll find it. And a lot of these puzzle box shows, I mean, you can just, you know, I mean, goddamn.
We're becoming like the girls where we're just seeing shit because we're traumatized now.
Yeah. Anything else, guys?
That's all I got.
Yeah.
Tori?
That's all I got.
All right, guys. It's fun talking to y'all, and we'll be back again with another episode where we'll cover more things than just Yellowjackets soon. But until then, I am Sean.
I am Ronald Reagan reborn.
Woo! And I am Tori, waiting for all the cannibal scenes from Yellowjackets.
Yes.
All right, and we'll be eating you later.
Ah.
Mommy, mamo, mamu, mame.
Unique New York. Unique New York.
Ow now, brown cow.